Hi guys, I hope you are doing well. In this particular video, we will be discuss about SQL constraint, okay, which is not null, check, unique and default constraint. So guys, before watching this particular video, I will be recommend to watch these video where we have covered about primary and composite key. Apart from this, we have covered the foreign key constraint and how we can utilize the foreign key cascade in greater details, okay? And for this particular session, how we can utilize the not null constraint, check constraint, unique constraint, okay? So for an example, if you are going to design a particular table, right? So we need to set some rules, okay, on a particular column. So we require the constraint, right? So that particular part we have covered in the previous session as well. So these are the remaining constraint we will be discussed in this particular session. All right. So let's jump on the SQL server. So guys, first of all, we will be discuss about not null constraint. Okay. So what is the meaning of not null constraint? So for an example, this is a very simple rule whenever you are using not null constraint. So your column must have the value, right? So you cannot leave the empty when you are going to say, hey, this particular column will be a not null, right? So let me create a table for a student, and here what I am doing. So first of all, the student ID I am using as a primary key and the name as varchar, and this is not null, okay? Which means we need to provide a name here, okay? Similarly, we need to provide a email, right? These are the mandatory column, you can say that, okay? All right. And guys, for this particular column, I'm not defining any not null. So we can provide the phone number, or maybe we can leave the blank as well if needed. All right. Now let me insert the data in the student table. So guys, these are the details for this student table we need to insert. Okay. So first of all, let me create a table for student, and similarly, now let me insert the data. Interesting. Okay. For the same information, let's say if I am going to insert the data, so here I am going to missing the name, right? So for an example, name missing. So here student ID is 2, right? And I'm not going to provide a name, right? So let me remove this. And here I am going to provide a email. So let's say abc@email.com. All right. And here I am saying, let's say this is the phone, right? Any phone number I am going to supply here. Okay. So simple. So when I'm going to insert this record, look at this. So here field name does not have a default value, right? So you need to provide this particular name. Okay. So this is failing here. And now what if when I'm going to not provide the phone? Okay. So maybe let's say here, as I just mentioned, phone is optional, right? So the same data, let me copy here. So are you understanding? Right now, I'm not going to provide a phone number. So this is the 2, right? Let me provide a name. Let's say the name is Sri, and let me, capture here as well. And here, I'm not going to provide a phone number, right? So it will be accept this particular information, right? Because our phone can be a null as well, right? So now let me remove this, and now let me execute this particular line of statement. And here we go, right? So one row is affected. I can show you the record, right? So here you can see. Simple. Okay. So I hope you understood what does not null constraint. Okay. So this is a very simple constraint. Guys, now the next constraint we have, which is a default constraint, right? So here, very simple rule you need to keep in mind. Let's say if you are not passing, if no value given, right? If no value given, then we need to use the default value, right? So what is the default value? Any default value you are going to set when you are going to creating a table. So let me, drop this table and let me create once again. Okay. So here I am going to drop this table. Okay. Let me remove this. Yeah. Now I want to create this particular table once again. Okay guys. So here once again I am going to create a student. So student ID is the primary key, name and email and the city. So here I want any default city if you are not going to insert. So let's say I am saying this is the default, and here I am going to capture our default city, for an example Mumbai. Okay, so this is my default city if you are not passing. Interesting. And similarly, what I can do here, let's say similarly I am going to capture a status. Okay, so maybe status is a varchar, and here I can define a 20, and the default would be, for an example, let's say active. So if you are not going to supply any status, so by default the status will be active. Interesting. And similarly here I can capture some more information. Let's say if you are going to capture a join date, so it should be a date, and default would be your current date, right? CURDATE, correct. Okay, so these kind of default date we can use. So this is the default date, or let's say today. Okay, and one more time, let's say I'm going to capture a fee of a student. It should be a decimal, and which is 8,2, and here I can use some default value, for an example 5,000. Okay, so these are the default value against the city, status, join date, and fee I am going to capture if user is not going to insert. So I have created the table, and now I want to insert the record. So guys, first of all, I am going to insert with all the value. Okay, so for an example, student name, right? Student ID, email, city, status, join date, and all. So, okay, right? I can show you the table. So simple, select star from a student, and here you will notice you have all the values. Now I want to insert the data with some default value. So here I am inserting some default value for city, status, join date, and I will be use a fee as well, right? So student ID, name, and email I am going to pass, and by default it will be capture other default value. So guys, keep in mind. So for an example, if I'm leaving the city as a default, right? So it will be capture this particular city. Otherwise, whatever you are going to supply here, that information will be captured. Okay. So right now the city and status and the join date and fee will be captured as a default, which is Mumbai, active, current date, and fee as a 5,000. Right. So let me insert this record. So here you can see, right? So this is the default city, and this is the default status, and this is my today's date and the default fee. All right. And now the next constraint we have, which is check constraint. Okay, check constraint. So what does check constraint? So it is also very easy. So for an example, you want to define some rules and guidelines. Okay, when you are going to create a particular table, so you can supply some condition. Okay, so here the value must pass a condition, or you can say that, or test. Okay, so whenever you are going to define the check constraint, so you need to set some condition. If that condition is evaluating as a true, okay, or that condition is met, right? In that situation, your column will accept the value. You got my point, what I'm trying to say here? So let me drop the table once again. Now let me create the table for check constraint. So guys, here I want to capture a student age. It has to be integer, and I want to supply a check constraint, right? And here I am saying when a age of a student should greater than equal to 18, and the age of a student should equal to the less than equal to 60. Okay. So here your age, right? Age must be between 18 to 60, right? So these are the particular rule I have supplied. Similarly, let's say if I am going to capture a grade of a student, here I am not capturing a grade, right? But look at this. I am saying your grade should be, right? Your grade should be either, right, A and B and C and the D and E, or only these 4 grade I am going to capture. right? Only these grade. Okay. So a student can have only these grade, right? So apart from this, you cannot supply any grade for a student. Okay. This is also, very important, right? As I just mentioned. And similarly, maybe let's say a fee, right? So guys, for an example, if you are going to capture a fee of a student, right? Or maybe mistakenly you capture their fee in negative number. Okay, so you remember, right? So fee cannot be a negative. All right, so I am going to say the fee should be positive, right? Fee must be positive. Interesting. And similarly, let's say if I want to capture a email, right? So I can capture their email as well. Yeah. So example, let's say email should be a varchar, and here maybe up to 100 character, and I'm going to check every email, right, should contain two things. First of all, the every email should contain a @ right? So this is the @ right? I am using here wildcard, and should also contain a dot, right? So these are the two mandatory things we need for a email. So okay, and here, so your email look like this. Okay, so must look like this email. Okay, and the last column I'm going to capture city as a varchar, and here up to 50, and I'm going to define a default, let's say for an example, New Delhi. Okay, so these are the basic information of a student I want. Interesting. So let me insert this. Now let me show you the blank table, and then we need to insert the record. So guys, here I am inserting the record for student ID, name, age, grade, fee, and their email. So let me run this particular statement. Simple, right? So it is captured successfully. Let me capture this particular information once again, and here I am saying this is 2. Okay, and now this is Vivek, and here I am going to capture the grade, let's say E. Okay, here I am going to capture the grade, let's say E. So it is possible. So let me run this. So you can see that check constraint student is violated. Okay, so we are not going to meet the requirement of the check constraint. Similarly, your fee cannot be negative. So we cannot supply a negative fee. It is also wrong. Simple. Okay, and sometime, let's say if you are going to capture wrong email, maybe you are not going to capture dot, right? Again, it will be fail, right? So let me do, this is A, and this also fail, right? You can see. Yep. So guys, you understood how we are utilizing the check constraint. So whenever you are going to design the check constraint, so you can think based on the rules and guidelines of that particular projects, or your company guidelines, whatever they want. Based on that, you can design the column in the SQL server by using a check constraint. All right. Now the next constraint, we will be focused on unique constraint, right? So what is the meaning of unique constraint? It's a very simple, right? We can supply a multiple unique constraint in a single table, but you need to keep in mind all values must be different, right? All values must be different. No duplicates allowed here. Okay, no duplicates value allowed here. Interesting. Let me create this particular table for a unique constraint. Okay, so here I am going to dropping the existing table, and now I want to create a brand new table for a unique constraint. So in the student table, right, I can supply a email, right? So email cannot be a duplicate, right? So I can supply a varchar, and here let's say maybe 100, and it should be unique, right? So you need to supply your email. And now similarly, I can supply a phone number. Okay, so phone number of all the student also should be unique, right? So here I'm saying this is also unique. And similarly about the roll number also, so every student roll number should also a unique. You got my point? Yeah. And here I'm defining a age which is integer. So interesting, guys. So let me execute this. Okay. And now I want to insert the record. Okay. Now I want to insert the records. So here all the unique value I am passing, right? Now let me insert the record. Okay. So it is took successfully all the values here. Now let me execute this, right? You can see. And now what I'm doing here, let's say the same email I am going to provide one more time. Okay. So for an example, the ID is 2. Okay. The name is, let's say, Ravi, and okay, or I am passing the Rahul at email.com. Okay. And let me change the number. Let me change the roll number. Let's say it should be 2 and the age is 21. Okay. So when I'm going to insert the record, right, so it will be catched by the unique key constraint. So here you can see that duplicate entry we found against the email. Okay. So when I am going to write here the Ravi at email.com, and here I am going to capturing the same phone number. Now once again, we found a duplicate student phone number, right? And similarly for the roll number as well. Okay, so let me execute this. Interesting. So guys, now you tell me, can we capture, let's say, can we capture null value in this column? In this column means in unique key column. Can we capture? Answer is yes, we can capture. Okay, so simple. Let me supply here the same record, and now let me change the information, which is 3, and this is Rohit, right? And let me change the phone number. Okay, and guys, now for the roll number, right, I'm not passing anything, so I'm saying this is null. So this record can be captured by the table. Answer is yes. Okay, so look at the magic here. When I'm going to copy this record and I'm going to make a a new insert statement, and here one more time I want, let's say, null for this. So maybe the Romil now, and let's say this is the Romil, and let me change the phone number, and once again I am going to pass as a null. So you tell me, it will be capture or it will be raise an exception. Okay, so in my SQL it will be capture. Okay, which means if you are going to define a unique key constraint, right, so that particular column can accept multiple null value. Okay, in the MySQL, you can see here, right? Okay, but the same thing if you are going to capture in MS SQL Server, right? So it will capture the null value only one time. All right, so for an example, let me capture this Abhishek, and the phone number is 8, and the age is, let's say, 25. Again, it will be captured. Look at this, right? So in the MySQL server, we can supply as many null value in a unique key constraint. But whereas if you are using MS SQL server, right, so we cannot insert multiple null value. Okay, so let me write here. Let's say is a simple note. In MySQL, we can capture multiple null value in a unique key column, whereas we cannot capture the multiple null value in unique key column in MS SQL. So this thing you need to keep in mind, right? So when you are going for an interview, so you can specify this. Yes, in MySQL, we can capture the duplicate value as a null for the unique key column. Okay, but whereas in MS SQL Server, we cannot capture the multiple null. Interesting. And similarly, based on the unique key, right? So you can design a composite unique key constraint as well. Okay, so I hope you are understood about already the composite, okay, as we have covered in the foreign key constraint. So it is also a very simple. So we can take a combination of a column, right? That has to be unique together. Okay. So let's take an example. So first of all, let me drop this table once again to create a brand new table. And guys, here I am going to make a unique your course, semester, and the section. So guys, here I want to create a particular column, okay, where your course, semester, and the section combination cannot be repeat. Okay, so maybe you can design, some specific rule as well based on some other column as well, right, if needed. But just I'm giving you this example so you can understand how we can design a unique key constraint or composite unique key constraint. So when I will be execute, so the table has been created successfully. Now let me insert the record. So here I want to insert this record. So this is accepted, right? And now another record where I'm going to capture a different section. So this is also captured. Okay. Same course also I'm using the same semester, but the section are different. All right. And here I am going to capture a different semester. So these three record, right, they are not going to make any duplicate based on course, semester, and the section. Okay. Now let me show you the record from this particular table, which looks good for us. Okay. So let me insert this record one more time. I think it is not inserted. Now let me execute the table. Here you can see. Okay. And guys, now I am going to insert the record for a different student. Okay. But now the course is also repeating. Okay. Their semester is also repeating and their section is also repeating. Now your unique key constraint will be triggered. You can see. So we found a duplicate entry for course, semester, and the section. Okay. So that's how you can design the unique key constraint or composite unique key constraint. All right. I hope you are understanding this particular concept. Now I want to give you the examples where I want to combine all the constraint, right? Where I can use primary key, not null, unique, default, check constraint, or unique key constraint, right? So let me write here. So guys, here this is the table I have created where employee ID is a primary key, name as a varchar, it should be not null, and the email not null also, and the unique also. Font should be unique, employee code also unique, and here your salary cannot be null. Okay, and we are going to apply check constraint where we are capturing the positive salary. The department is a varchar and your default department, I can say that general. And similarly here I am checking the status, default is active, right? And here I am going to supply the check constraint, which is active, inactive, on, leave. Joining date as a default, which is current date, and your age must be greater than 18 or less than equal to 65. And this is the manager ID. And here we can supply the unique key, or you can say that composite unique key, right? So we capture all the constraint except foreign key constraint. Okay. Now let me create the table. Okay. So guys, okay, it is already exist. So what can I do? Drop table if exist, let's say employee, right? Now let me run this. And here we have done this. So let me refresh this. And here you will notice we have an employee table, right? And these are the indexes we have created. So here for indexes for email, phone number, employee code, and the department. Okay. And guys, accordingly, you can insert the data in this particular table. Okay. So I hope you understood, let's say, how we can utilize all the constraint in the SQL Server. And I hope you understood also why these constraints are very, very important in the SQL Server when you are going to design a particular table. All right. And now guys, now the last thing, now let me give you the summary. Let's say what does each constraint. Okay. So when I'm going to execute this, okay, now you can read this particular components. Okay. So guys, here, this is the summary. So first of all, we have a not null. So column must have a value, and the default, use a default value if you are not passing anything. Check constraint, your columns should meet that particular condition. In the unique, all value should be unique, but you can pass null as many times in MySQL. And the primary key, the combination of not null and the unique, and we can supply only one primary key on a single table. And this is the composite unique, combination of column must be unique together. All right. So guys, I hope you understood all the constraint in greater details. Okay. So you can practice of this particular session. And if you found any difficulty or any challenges, please let me know in the comment box. And for now, thanks for watching and have a great day.